Hello, and welcome back to the Point 99 podcast. Honestly, guys, I'm so glad to be back. The past few weeks have simultaneously flown by while also being a right slog. The break, however, was 100% worthwhile, and I got some much needed R&R following the fun of recording season 1. But I am, of course, back and ready to rumble with season 2. There's a lot of things to cover in the first episode. Changes to the podcast, some good, some not so good, and of course what I've been up to during the break. But before I get to any of that, let's crack out the one constant, the intro. For new listeners, the Point 99 podcast is a running podcast for runners by runners. If you are new to running, we hope to have topics and discussions that will help you along whatever path your journey is taking. Or, for any seasoned runners, maybe some stories that will have you empathising with our experiences. Whether it's lessons we've learned during our own journeys, embarrassing stories, or heartstring pulling moments. We hope you'll stick with us while we try share some good vibes, motivation, and positivity, and hopefully we can have a laugh along the way. But let's kick things off with perhaps the biggest change to the podcast. I know I've covered it on a few social media posts, stories, and during the bonus episode to bridge the gap between season 1 and season 2. But I also appreciate that not everyone listening either checks Instagram or has listened to the bonus episode. Unfortunately, Runnerman Steve has had to take a step back from the show. It's sad to see him depart, but he has assured me it's not because of my rubbish banter. So, for the time being, I'm going to be a solo host for the podcast. Albeit the interviews might sound a little bit ropey to begin with. I know I'll find my feet eventually and get back rolling as usual in no time. But I also know I have the support of a truly awesome 99 Club and listening community. And if it doesn't work out solo, I have a co-host application list as long as my arm. On the topics of the 99 Club and also merchandise, steps are still being made to bring each together. The Discord server that I previously mentioned is almost ready to launch, as is our website. With merchandise, however, I've put up a post on Instagram showing the samples I've received from the long-awaited buffs that Nikki requested. So fingers crossed, I'll have a batch of the original design buffs ready for you guys to purchase in the coming weeks. So watch Instagram for more information and updates, and I will of course make any announcements on the show. There are of course going to be other items of merchandise, some of which are already in production, really checking out samples, checking out companies, seeing what works. But yeah, again, watch this space, check for information, and fingers crossed it's something you guys are going to want to get your hands on. But back to the podcast as a whole. And for the entirety of season 2, and to fill the void left by Runnerman Steve, I'll be joined by a wide range of excellent guests. Some are already known, others have yet to be announced, but at least one will feature on each episode. It's going to be a busy season. On top of that, you're also going to be treated to a new release schedule, a weekly show. I know, Laura Hardcastle finally gets her wish, albeit with one less Steve that she'd likely have hoped for. Call it a special treat to Laura, given that she's just caught up with season 1 this week. I'll shortly be introducing you to the very first guest for the season, an absolute queen of the gram that she is, but I'm quickly going to cover what I've been up to in my running world during the interval. Most significantly, marathon number 4. The glorious city of Amsterdam has reared its head, looming on the horizon. In a change of pace to how I trained for my first, second and third marathon, so I'm going to be completing a 16-week program, which I'm already halfway through week 2 of. With week 1 having already been completed, it felt really good to be back training for a marathon. And touch wood, there's no signs of the knee issue experienced on the run up to Edinburgh. Seems to have healed, so hopefully that continues. Tied to marathon training, I have accepted a partnership with Run Kaizen, a fitness app that is a little bit different to the ones that you've likely heard of before. Unlike Coupa or Runner, Kaizen doesn't set you a bespoke program, plan, or pace. Instead, it assesses your past activity and establishes a weekly distance for you to target. If, like me, you have a race to work towards, you can set your desired time goal. The app will then take into consideration your time and your past activities and sets you that weekly target. It's then up to you how you tackle the recommended distance, be it fartlek, interval, tempo, easy, or any of the multitude of ways that you can run it. I would say it's probably aimed at people like myself who are quite confident at setting their own programs. Throughout your training, the app will assess your pace and determine a fluid distance change based on the information available through integration with Strava. Certainly, I am not doing the app any justice with my explanation, but I will be joined by the Kaizen team on the podcast, ahead of my Amsterdam PB push, who will undoubtedly be able to explain it 1,000 times better than I ever could. As I get closer to Amsterdam, I'll share how I'm faring with the app, how my training is going on a weekly basis, and everything that I'm experiencing. Next up, I'm also now an ambassador for the legends who are ActiveRoute. I'm pretty sure I previously mentioned the brand on the show, but it's a pretty epic role to be offered. ActiveRoute actually approached me a number of weeks ago, and of course, I could not say no. For anyone listening that's an ActiveRoute user, or if you want to give them a try, I'll have a discount code available on my Instagram and on the website. And that will get you 15% off any order over £20. I'll also hopefully have the boss join me on the podcast to discuss the brand, its origins, and their upwards trajectory. The sky is definitely the limits for this brand. But on a running related topic, some of you may have been aware that I was helping a friend start his running journey. Having no running experience or limited fitness on the go, it was going to be a 0 to 30 minute non-stop project for him. Chris wanted to avoid the standard couch to 5k options, being very headstrong in knowing what he wanted to achieve, but also not wanting to take the 10 weeks that the program usually outlines. So he asked me if I could create a workable plan for him. And that's what I did, as well as joining him on each day to keep him accountable. Each run, we would work on nailing the basics, the pace of each interval, building his breathing pattern, and working on his heart rate control, with Chris smashing each week's goal. Come week 8, the final push to run 30 minutes non-stop, and he asked if we could achieve something else. He wanted to surpass 30 minutes and try smash 5k. And that's exactly what he did. A non-stop run of 43 minutes and a well-deserved 5k. But since finishing the program, he has also smashed a number of unassisted 5k runs. I couldn't be prouder of Chris for firstly having the bravery to look in the mirror and commit to change, but also thank him for letting me help him start his journey. His want to commit to running has stemmed from a desire to drop a few pounds in preparation for a Caribbean holiday next year. As I've already said, he's continued his runs in the weeks following the programme's completion, albeit not as regimented as I was holding him to, but I have since joined him and will continue to do so as his story develops. I'm also hoping that he might come on the podcast and talk to everybody a little bit about starting out running, how he's feeling, and what his plans are going forward. Otherwise, I've tried to keep my head securely screwed on in preparation for season 2. I already have several of the guest interviews pre-recorded, banked, and ready to go. Hence my initial comment about sounding a little bit ropey with only each guest to bounce off of. No Runnerman Steve to pick up my slack. And just like that, let's get to my very first guest for season 2. And as I've already hailed her, she's an absolute queen of the gram. Having been a follower of her journey since well before my running Instagram page was even created, through to sharing a pizza with her, the true symbol of friendship, during the Loch Ness 24. She was always going to be someone I personally wanted to get on the podcast, as did runner man Steve, who will 100% be cheering from the sidelines on this one. With a vast and varied history throughout her running journey, from starting off much like myself as a charity runner, all the way through to multiple marathon successes, including a couple of majors along the way. She is now upped the game and pedalling along a new path. But before I get ahead of myself in the introduction, let's hear from Her Highness herself, Instagram royalty, Emma Joy. How's it going, Emma?
Yeah, really good. I love that. It just reminded me of that when you said about the pizza, like what a good day that was.
Oh, it was spot on, especially since the pizza seemed to last, 24 hours almost?
Yeah. Oh, that lasted a long, long time, and that's not normal when I ran.
I think you'd had such a long journey that day, though. Just for transparency, it was during the Loch Ness 24. Emma and her partner Stu had such a long journey. It was pizza was always going to be on the cards, but I think everyone was just absolutely knackered, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. 24-hour race. That'll do it for you.
I think the pizza actually did almost end up lasting to the end of the event as well.
Yeah.
That and Lee's Donuts. I think Lee's Donuts went first.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
But you've had a great week. You've been out for a run as well just before we're recording.
Yeah, just went out for a nice easy run. It was quite a late night last night. I was at a wedding, so thought I'd get some easy miles in this evening.
Get rid of the hangover as you've said you had this morning.
Yeah, I was a little bit tired this morning. Don't do it, kids. It's not good for you.
You had a busy week, or has it been okay?
Yeah, if I've not done. I did one event in midweek, so as some people might know, I work with Run Through. So I was working there on Wednesday at Battersea Park, and yeah, sort of a nice evening. And I feel like next week's going to be way busier, so sort of getting ready for that now.
Spot on. Well, I think a lot of the listeners have probably have followed you or know your story a little bit, because a lot of them are listeners of the What the Fartlek podcast as well. But for the 0.1% who might not know, can you share a little bit about your journey so far? I was going to say, and what you do, but you've already mentioned it there with Run Through, and just how you got started with your kind of fitness and running journey.
Yeah, I guess so it started about just over 10 years ago now. So it feels like a long time. Sort of a lot of my adulthood's been filled with running and sports or in general. I wouldn't say that I've always been quite sporty. I sort of did a lot of dancing actually when I was younger, but I was just after university, and as everyone, I'd put on a little bit of weight, and I would, at uni you're drinking a lot and probably not eating the most healthiest of foods. And I was sort of going through a breakup, and also, unfortunately, my cousin was not very well at the time. And I remember meeting his friend in hospital when I was visiting him, and he was telling me that he was doing all these half marathons and doing it for charity. And I thought, do you know what? Like, that's something I could do. And a lot of people did laugh and be like, "You run a half marathon? Definitely not. Like, you're the party animal at uni and all this lot." And it sort of spurred me on more than anything, actually, because I was like, no, I'm going to prove these guys wrong. Like, I'm totally going to be able to do it. And yeah, sort of started training for that. I was like, oh, I definitely don't want to suffer through this half marathon. Better put some training in. But then during the training, my cousin unfortunately did pass away, and it was my sort of outlet. It was really good to like have something for me, and every time I went out, I would just put some music on, just kind of be alone with my thoughts, or even just to sort of not think and just be out moving my body. And it just felt really good to just be away from everything that was happening sort of day to day. And I know that a lot of people, especially this day and age, through the pandemic and everything, like mental health is such a big thing. And at the time, like running really did save me. It was just a good thing for myself and something that just helped me, I guess, to help me grieve at the time, really. But I sort of got on to do the half marathon, and I ran for Macmillan Cancer. And I remember just finishing and being like, that was an incredible journey. Like, I just want to do that all over again. And then I planned to do the following year 5 half marathons throughout the year and sort of try and cut down my time. I thought it'd be a nice goal to have for myself. And yeah, I sort of caught the running bug from there and just sort of progressed. And as everyone does, you finish one race and you're like, what's next? Or like, can I go for further? Can I go faster? And it just becomes really exciting.
You see, certainly with what you're saying there as well, running is a big therapy for a lot of people, really good for mental health. But it's disappointing that you were almost written off as you can't do this, but you've proved everyone wrong with everything you've smashed so far.
I think it's one of those things that like you can either listen to the people or you can, like you said, prove them wrong. And I think I quite enjoyed being able to say, like, look, I can do it. Like, I'm not the person like you thought that I was, or like what I couldn't do. And it does spur you on sometimes. Like, a little bit of negativity is not always too bad, because it's sort of does kind of push you a little bit more.
You've certainly not left the dancing behind either. You were throwing some mad shapes at the silent disco at the 24.
Oh my gosh, Lee is amazing. It was so much fun. I loved it.
You, Lee, and that drunk random guy. But they to get a little bit sidetracked. Now, Runner Man Steve will be proud that I am still doing tangents. The organisers weren't so sure they were going to do the silent disco this year, but then since we're taking 5 teams of 5, I've asked specifically if they can bring it back. So they've made me promise that we'll actually use it effectively this time.
Amazing. You've all got to get up this time then.
I won't just sit and eat chips and just watch.
No, we need you up on the dance floor.
Right. So can you kind of cover some of the marathons you've run as well as part of your story? Because I know that you've done 3 majors now, is it?
Yeah, I think it's 3 out of 6.
You're halfway there.
Yeah, halfway. And I don't know when I'll be doing my next one, because I entered the ballot for New York but didn't get a spot. But sort of trying to figure out what my next steps are, because it's I've done Berlin, London. Oh my goodness, what's the other one?
Chicago.
Berlin and Chicago. Yeah. So I did that just before the pandemic, which was really good. So I think the next 3 are sort of the hardest ones probably to get into. So sort of, trying to figure out what my running majors journey is from now on forward. But we'll see. Well,
that does remind me, it must be coming up soon that Tokyo ballot opens, because I remember yourself and Stu signing up for the ballot.
Yeah.
Set time.
Yeah, so I probably will enter the ballot again and
probably get
rejected again.
How many times have you done London now?
So I've done London twice, which was really good. I did once for charity for Macmillan, and then also a ballot spot on the other one.
If you got lucky with a ballot, can you keep your fingers crossed for me for Thursday then?
Oh my goodness, yes. Fingers crossed for everyone who's signed up for the ballot.
Not everyone, Emma, not everyone. We can't all get in.
Definitely you need to come down, because we need to show you some the sites in London as well.
Yeah, we need to go for a run in London as well. I mean, I've been down a couple of times, but I've not actually run in London, and I would really like to.
Oh yes, definitely. Let's get you on there.
Right, so running is kind of out the way, but it does transfer into what your new kind of interest is, in triathlon. Originally, I kind of thought that you might go down ultra route. Like, I seem to have that in my horizontal kind of sights now, but you seem to have taken a dive down a different route. But not just triathlon, Ironman. How's that all come about?
That's absolutely mental, isn't it, when you think about it? Especially if you'd asked me like a year ago or before that, like, oh, would you ever do a half Ironman? I'd be like, hell no, like definitely not. But I guess it was sort of during the pandemic, I'd had a small injury and I sort of got into doing like a lot more strength training, and I was like, but I need to get like my fix that's sort of similar to running. And I bought a bike, and I don't know if anyone remembers how difficult it was to get a bike during that time, but I was up day and night looking to go and get a bike, and ended up getting a road bike. And it was really nice to sort of cycle, like especially it was a lot quieter on the roads, and I sort of got a little bit more into it, and probably still don't love it as much as running, but it was one of those where I was like, do you know what, like I can do something else now, like maybe I should try something different. And I guess we all sort of get to a point where maybe we don't care about getting faster or like doing different distances. So I thought this might be just a nice change. And like luckily I work within sort of the running industry, and I was able to get a spot at one of the London triathlon. And I was like, well, when's a better time to do it now? Like I have to just sort of, I'm very good at like having to just put it on my plate and then deal with it. So now that I had the spot, I was like, I have to train for it and go for it. And it was just so much fun. And I know that it's just mad because like, oh yeah, doing a sprint triathlon is very different to doing a half Ironman. But I've got a lot of friends who have done the Ironman 70.3, and I was like watching their journey, and I was thinking like maybe I should give that a go. That looks like quite a lot of fun. And then so I just decided to sign up to it, and now that I've got the place, and I have to train for it because no one wants to struggle during a half Ironman. So
well, as you say, sprint triathlon's one thing, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
How many have you done now? Have you got your sprint triathlon? You've done another couple, haven't you?
Yeah, so I did my second one at Blenheim Palace this year. I heard from a lot of friends it was a really good one to do, and although it's very hilly, it was very scenic, and it was a very pretty sort of it was nice to do the cycle and the run there, and the lake swim. Like bearing in mind I was never ever a swimmer, like I can swim sort of breaststroke. Like about a year ago I only started to learn how to front crawl, and it was actually my favorite part of the lake swim because it was just really clear underneath, and it was just the sun was shining, and it was nice and cool to be in the water. And yeah, it's the swimming that's really taken me by surprise, because it's always the part that I was not so good at and didn't know too much about, and I've got really sort of into it. Like it's nice just to sort of be back at the beginning again and just learn something brand new, and just see where your progression is, because when you're running for a long time there becomes a point where you do just sort of, I guess, plateau, or you lose a little bit of motivation. Whereas with something brand new like the swimming, it's really easy to sort of see progression, and it's a good feeling.
You just kind of touched on there that you were never the strongest swimmer, and how does the idea of being in a half Ironman group where it potentially be quite of a jostle to get in the water, how does that settle with you? Are you quite confident about just barge through and get it done? Not quite like a sprint Ironman as well, where it's a little bit more polite in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard so many horror stories about the swim part, and I'm very much going to just stand aside and just let all the people who want to be super fast just go ahead, and then I guess I'll just sort of follow in between. But from my last two sprint triathlons, I've learned to kind of try and gauge like sort of where I'm in the pack. So it's just, I know that there are still people that will be sort of, taking their time and like breaststroking. So it's one of those where I just sort of like get an idea maybe of like whereabouts I can place myself, but I won't be anywhere near the front at all. But I've come to sort of just think, take it as it is, like just do your thing, and like it's not about anyone else. Like people, if they want to go off and do it really quick, it's that's great, but I'm not going to be doing it really quick. So I've even went to Cascais, so that's where my race is, a couple of weeks ago, and I went to exactly where the race will be, and got in the water and actually did a little bit of front crawl there, and it was actually something I was very frightened of. Like I was really scared of the sea swim, and I did think when I signed up, I was like, I need to figure out that fear, because I'm going to be in there for quite a long time. So but but it was nice to actually just be in the water and actually just, get my head under the water. And it might seem like when I mention it on Instagram, like, oh, might make it look easy, but it's been quite a journey. Like it has been quite a frightening thing, and I've sort of like built myself up to do that. So I'm feeling sort of proud at the moment that I was able to do that, and now I'm a little bit more confident about actually getting in there and doing the swim part. So yeah, it just takes a lot of time, and you just need to, I guess, keep pushing yourself.
No, you definitely should be proud, because it's like you say, to get to kind of step out of your comfort zone. And swimming, by all accounts, is sounds like you're weaker of the three events, because you're a very strong runner, and you're even your cycling as well. You've had a few cycling events recently. That's coming on leaps and bounds too since it kind of kicked off in lockdown. So no, you should be proud. Definitely. That was going to be my next question. No, you have just been in Portugal, and I was going to ask it. Was it a kind of like a scouting, a half holiday, half scout in a way? But that does make more sense now. But is that the next event? Is Ironman 70.3 the next event, or do you have something in between?
Well, I might be doing a couple more races sort of in the lead up to, I've got my Birmingham Olympic triathlon. So that's a new distance for me as well. So that'll be fun to find out how I get on with that one. So that's the beginning of August. So I think it's, about a month away. I'll be doing the Olympic distance. And then I think I've got a sprint triathlon to sort of practice the transition parts as well. And then I also have a duathlon early September. So I'll be doing the London Duathlon, which I've heard is also very, very hilly, which will be good practice for Portugal. And I'm hoping to try and squeeze in a half marathon at some point, just to, again, like tune up for the race that I'll be doing in October, which will be the half Ironman.
Spot on. And as it kind of keeps closer, though, is that, do you have a plan of attack for October, or is it kind of just use these other events and train as effectively as you can?
Yeah, so I'm doing sort of a lot of each discipline at the moment, but the triathlons are sort of like my way of building up and just getting the experience on race day, and like I said, practicing those transitions, which is something that you don't necessarily do in training. So yeah, just sort of to get me a good feel of like how it will be, because then I can sort of, I guess, judge how long I'll be in each discipline as well, because another fear is just sort of not even making the cut-offs and stuff like that. So at least it will give me a good indication of where I am time-wise as well. And it will just be really fun to sort of do the races, because you always push yourself a little bit more, and sort of
as your confidence builds, you're going to push yourself more and more.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of like as you say, it's built a lot of confidence being able to do the other triathlons. So then I'm sort of like, well, it's okay because I only have to do X amount more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And talking confidence, you must be super confident to go to a local pool wearing a full wetsuit. Do you not get odd looks?
No, because we're all in wetsuits.
All right, so it's closed off for that. It's not just open with random people. Okay.
Oh, no.
I did see the photo. I'm thinking, Emma must get some really, really strange looks when she's going in the pool in the full suit. I know London's got some weird fashion, but come on.
No, it's a tri club, so it's right. It's specifically just for those doing triathlon. So it's not me just rocking up to a pool with my wetsuit on.
I honestly can't say anything. No, we went paddle boarding earlier this week. Took the wetsuit off, had stuff on underneath, but I went into Tesco's in just my dry jacket, and it must have just looked so odd. Both the two of us, myself and Joe, just walking through Tesco's, just some odd looks.
That's brilliant.
Oh, no, it's a fairly kind of brief chat we're doing, I think, on each episode. But as we approach the end of the chat, and as I plan to do with all the guests, or at least the guests that are happy to talk about it, and you've seen the questions in advance, so you've not vetoed this one. I'd like to take a minute to talk about mental health and your experience with it. So you've already touched on that, but if you're happy to, if we can expand on that. So as I say, my plan is to, if nothing else, to help normalize and talk about the subject. Being that we followed each other for a good number of years now, and I personally call you a friend. You know, I've confided in you, and I've heard little bits from yourself as well. Especially over lockdown, we had our difficulties. Um,
Yeah.
but can you shed a little bit of light on some of the difficulties, other than how your running journey started out? Obviously, that was a big effect on you, but any difficulties in how you've moved on from them and continue to move on from them?
Yeah, I guess I even feel like post pandemic, it's so much easier to talk about it. There's still a little bit of room to try and like you say, make it a normal thing. But um, prior to the pandemic, it was just something that people didn't talk about as much. And like I remember going through that period of time where I was, I guess, not very well, sort of mentally, and I remember going to the doctors and I felt like I couldn't speak to a lot of people about it because there was some sort of shame around it. And
Mhm.
I remember talking to, even people close to me, and they were like, we don't know why you've not mentioned it or spoken about it. But it's just something that I think many other people probably feel the same or have felt the same, where you just it's so easy to say, oh, just reach out and talk to people. And that is what eventually sort of helped me to get through that period of time. But it is difficult when you're in that moment because you do feel like a little bit of shame. You're like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling like this, or those sorts of questions. And I always feel like when I was going through that period of time and I was talking to doctors and things like that, I just remember it, like I said, but it was one of those where it was like my secret, and that made it way worse because you just were left alone, like I said, just thinking about things, and then it sort of escalating. And it wasn't a really good period of my life. But I remember even just speaking to my cousin who did pass away, and I remember him saying like, oh, I don't want to leave this world and you all just cry and be miserable. Like, I want you to all, you're going to eventually move on, and even though you'll think about me, I want you all to be positive. I want you to think of the good things. And I was a bit like, oh, how can someone say that? That's just insane. Like,
Mhm.
of course we're going to be upset, but he's right in the sense of, life will continue like after that, and you have to deal with those things. And we never got over the fact that he did pass away, but it's one of those things. It's like I want to talk about him, all the time, because he is part of our life, like regardless of whether he's here in person or not. But yeah, I think talking is a big thing. Like for me, I felt as soon as I was able to open up and speak to people and try not to feel that shame, it became a little bit easier. And I do sort of think about, like, I'll have those moments of doubt, or moments where I am low, and I'll just think back and be like, you know tomorrow's a new day. I've got to get through this, and think about the positives that I've got. Like, and it is hard to say like think of the positives, but I generally feel when I think about the things that I have in my life that are good, it's what sort of like takes me through that. Because we have to respect the fact that we've got this life, and I don't want to you know have those periods of time and them to be that's all I'm going to ever sit in. And I know that I will have them again. Like, it's going to happen to all of us. We'll all have those moments, but you have to get through it, and you have to think about about tomorrow and like how you're going to be. And it's good to have a great network of people around you, because now if I'm feeling any sort of, I guess, any feelings that in that way, I'm able to reach out to those people around me and just say like, I'm not feeling okay. And that's what we all need to do. And just hold our hands up and say, I'm not okay. I need to talk about this. And it is hard. It's horrible. And I guess it's finding something that brings you happiness. So it could be running, it could be any other sport, it could be being creative, it could be whatever you need that to be. But having something for yourself could help you as well. So yeah, it's never a nice subject to talk about, because you always feel like it's a negative thing, but we have to be open about it.
And you say you can find something that gives you joy, and running does for a lot of people, or for yourself, it could be three sports in one.
Yeah, I'll just be bad at all three.
No, not no. Oh, thank you for sharing though, because I think it, even today on my long run, I've started doing YouTube videos, and I've not made them public. They're public, but I've not like shouted them out. They're there. If anyone wants to see them, they can find them. They're on the podcast page, on the
Let's
podcast
have a look.
YouTube page, and because I've already pre-recorded episode 2 and episode 4, both chaps that are on those episodes have also spoken about mental health, and especially episode 4. Patrick spoke about a friend of his. I can't. I won't say too much because I don't want to give it away for episode 4. But it's really, it kind of really punches you in the feels, because you think, well, I've had similarities, and similar sort of feelings and experiences as he's talking about, and he's come out so positive about it. And I think that's what we've got to do. We sometimes do have to put a smile on and think, no, you got to make the most of it. You've got to find, as you say, your joys. You've got to find what works for you, but you've also got to confide in people and be able to speak to people. And I know certainly I've found those people. So that's for me. I've got a network, and you've got your network, but also something that Mike, the PoleFit Ultra runner, will mention in episode 2. And again, I don't want to give too much away, but it's finding the right people to speak to, because anyone, you can talk to anyone, but it's getting the right feedback from people, because certain things can trigger people, or certain information can be wrong information, and knowing how to send someone a message is very, very important. But we'll move away from that, because it is a bit of a touchy subject, so we'll move away from that at the moment, and we'll look ahead to what's going on in the Lipstick and Trainers empire. We already kind of touched on some of the things that's going on, but can you give us a quick rundown of what might be coming after the Ironman in October?
Oh wow, yeah, I was thinking about this, and I feel like once I've got to the half Ironman, and I've sort of just not planned anything ahead of that, just because I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, what if I, decide that's, not probably the route I want to go down. So I've sort of, at the moment, left it as the half Ironman. However, there are thoughts. So like you said, maybe enter Tokyo Ballot. Probably won't get it, but just thinking about those things, I'll probably do maybe a race sort of early spring, try and get a PB sort of in my longer distances, so half marathon and marathon maybe. So that's sort of like ideas I've got, but also just thinking, once I've got the half Ironman out the way, what will be my new focus? And I've sort of just given myself a little bit of a break. Also, I'll want to probably not do too much after the race. So I sort of like going to put a pause, but sort of keep those ideas bubbling, sort of keeping an eye on what's going on around me and what people have recommended, and then maybe for the new year do sort of what's next on the agenda. So it's a bit open at the minute.
You'll need a well-deserved rest anyway.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Just in time for the winter and Christmas period.
You can fatten yourself up like a Christmas turkey, and then plan for 2024.
Yeah. Exciting.
So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but can we finish off with something that myself and Steve used to do in season 1? And it's not something I'm going to be doing so much of in season 2, but some shout outs. It will vary on how I end each episode, and it certainly has already with the pre-recorded ones, but like the best people to shout out and to really get into some of the listeners' feeds if they don't already follow them. But I know you're also going to say, I don't really want to shout anyone out because I don't want to miss some people.
Yeah.
I hope you've been able to pick some. But do you have anyone, like, have you picked some people that you would recommend that people, kind of our listeners, look at on their profiles and follow for like good content, positive content?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I was like, oh my God, there's just so many people. And it's one of those ways once you start reeling off names and then someone will be like, well, I was never mentioned. And I was like, oh no, I've forgotten this person or whatever. But I guess that I've got some profiles that sort of I guess there are bigger profiles, but ones that I tend to like every single post that they do. So I've started following, I think it's La Triathlete, and it's of course, triathlete. She's amazing. She does loads of funny videos. She again, because I wanted some sort of triathlon stuff on my feed. I follow a lot of runners, so I wanted to sort of engage within the triathlon community just to sort of get an idea of what goes on, and like there's things that you just wouldn't know until you start training for a triathlon. So it's been good to follow her because she just sort of jokes and makes funny things about like triathlon, and I'll share them to people. People are like, I don't get it because I don't do triathlon, but it's just good to sort of have someone like that. But also there's Laura McGreen. I think a lot of people follow her. She's again super hilarious. She'll tend to talk a lot about other runners, and she'll make really jokey reels, and she's just become a mum, I think about a year ago, so she'll make really funny reels on that, and it's just really sort of real and down to earth sort of and again running, she's a great runner as well. So those profiles sort of stand out to me, but I know that they're sort of the bigger profiles, but they are hilarious. I think laughter is the sort of key to my heart. So if anyone shares funny reels and stuff like that, I'm like, oh brilliant, like I need to follow this. But I follow so many incredible runners, and I feel like not one journey is the same. I feel like there's a lot of people who it's really good to sort of follow the people that are doing the same things as you. So for example, when I was doing training for London Marathon, I followed the hashtag London Marathon and sort of got to see like what other people are doing. And it is really good to sort of keep an eye on like what's going on. And similarly for the triathlon, I follow the hashtag Ironman Portugal, and I think that's where you sort of then find new profiles and get to chat to other people who are experiencing the same things as you. Because I feel like it's only ever relevant when you're doing it. Do you get what I'm saying? Even though like it's great, I love watching. There's people that do ultras, and that's not a route I guess I've ever gone down, but it is really cool to see what other people are doing or things that I might eventually aspire to do. But it's sort of good to keep an eye on what's going on, and like especially people who are doing the same races as you, and it's always good to have a big meet up on the after race day as well. So there's just so many people, and I did think about it, and I was like, do you know what, once I say this person, I'm gonna have to say this person and this person and this person. But I follow a lot of great people, and it's really fortunate to sort of be within the running community. And I guess being a part of Run Through as well, there's lots of runners there who are starting their journey with running, and those that have been running for years and running ridiculous times like 15-minute 5Ks and that sort of thing. So it's good to sort of see what other people are doing.
I thought you were going to hit the escape road and just shout out some of the Dachshund profiles myself. I thought that was going to be your get out clause.
Oh my gosh, I do follow so many Dachshund profiles. It's pretty
I mean, every time I see one, I go, oh, I want to take a photo of that and send it to Emma. Yeah.
I get so many people who send me Dachshund stuff all the time. I absolutely love it.
It's also quite reassuring to know that you're not ruling out the idea of an ultra. So it could be Ultra Emma 2024.
Who knows? I'll probably follow your route. You're doing an ultra, right? Soon.
I haven't signed up for it yet, but I do have my mind on one. It's very local, so it's almost. It would be a shame for me not to do it. And there's a 2-day event option. It's a lot of money.
Oh wow!
I don't really fancy doing the 2-day the 2-day event, but the single-day event it's more manageable cost wise. It starts almost at a similar place to the start of the Loch Ness Marathon, albeit the elevation change is dramatic. It's dramatically different. But I did spectate there this year. At least one of the members of the Who Dropped the Deborah Loch Ness 24 team was running at it. So I went to spectate and cheer her on. Being that I was local, I thought, well, it'd be rude of me not to. And then there was a chap doing an ultra, another one of our members, Gary. He was doing an ultra here just yesterday, and I could have gone and seen him, but I hadn't clicked until he was running it that he was doing it. It was like a 70 miler, and it
Oh,
was a bit
wow.
too late. But I wouldn't be doing anything as extreme as 70 miles or 100 miles, not to begin with. I
Yeah.
have got my eyes are kind of trying to see which ones are best for me, but probably a 50-kilometer ultra to begin with. And it can be at the moment either the Run the Blades, which
Oh, yeah.
is coming up in a couple of weeks' time, but wouldn't be this year, it'd be for next year, or the Ultra X Scotland 50.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've got a friend that has done that one, and it looks really cool.
It's seriously cool. I mean, the some of the guys coming across the line, they could have gone again, but it was just so phenomenal to see such amazing athletes. But it's not. It's like you said as well. There's people starting their running journeys, all shapes and sizes, doing it because it is a little bit more relaxed. It's less. It's less
Yeah.
about going for time. It's more for going for enjoyment, and I think that's what I
Yeah.
like the idea of, especially having paced Edinburgh this year and having a little bit more of a sedate run with it and enjoying it. I
Yeah.
think ultras are something that I could do. I want to at least tick off at least one. I think
Yeah.
that's something.
Well, 50K is a nice place to start.
Yeah, because if you can run a marathon, you should hopefully be able to do a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And also it's for me, what would attract me is all the snacks along the way.
Yes, yes. But I'm also not ruling out the idea of a triathlon. I was signing.
Oh,
Previously, I had a spot in what they call locally a try. So it's one of, like you say, a kind of a speed try, short format. But it was when I was still playing American football, and I'd picked up an injury that stopped me doing much with my knee. So I didn't get to do it, but I did spectate my brother doing it, and it looked phenomenal. I didn't
oh,
see it this year. I know it's completed because, again, another one of the Who Deliver team is a triathlete locally, and her squad were doing it. So I thought I missed out this year, but I'll keep an eye. I'll put a
oh,
reminder in my phone for
come
next
to
year.
the dark side.
Well, cycling and running, I'm more than happy with, especially cycling. That's probably my strongest. Swimming, I'm strong, but I also don't like swimming in and around people. That's my
Yeah.
biggest issue.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, you'll have to let me know.
I will. I might just surprise you and
Yeah,
just turn up one day and race against you, and you'll
yeah,
leave
you
me
have
in your
to.
dust.
That would be a really good video.
Oh, that's been spot on, Emma. Thank you very much for coming to speak to me, especially being episode one as well. I mean, I don't think I could think of anyone better or anyone that I would have preferred to be as my first guest for the season.
Oh no, thanking you. Like it's always good to have a chat with you as well. So
Mhm.
it feels like forever since we were able to jump on a call or something. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
It's long overdue, my appearance in London. So fingers
Yeah.
crossed for Thursday. And I think even if I don't get in, I'll be down at some point anyway. And we'll get a run
Yeah.
and we'll explore, or I'll make again maybe a random appearance at a run through event that you're working at.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, definitely. You'll have to let me know and then we'll go for pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Thank you very much. I'll move on now, but I hope you enjoy the new week, and good luck in the 70.3.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll need it.
How awesome was that? I absolutely love speaking with Emma, although, as you pointed out, it has been a hot minute, so it was truly awesome that she accepted to come on, be the first guest, and share a little bit about her story with triathlon and everything that's coming up for her. If you don't already, maybe consider jumping over to Emma's Instagram page, and that is at lipstick.and.trainers. I'd be very surprised if you don't already follow her, but I would highly recommend if you do. Her content is really motivational, inspirational. And as Emma also said, she works for Run Through, so you may bump into her at events throughout London or across the entirety of England. Before I sign off for this episode, I would like to return to something that was mentioned in the interview, and that would be my new YouTube channel, or at least a rebranded version of a channel that I had on the go anyway. I'm 100% taking inspiration from the awesome Running with Stephen on this project. Yes, another Stephen. But I will be predominantly focusing on my training and road to Amsterdam. But in and amongst the Amsterdam videos and content, I will also be sharing a little bit of behind the mic stuff for the podcast, maybe some sneaky sample merch, sneak peeks, but we'll just have to wait and see what comes up. But otherwise, that is episode 1 done. It's certainly a lot more compact than any of the episodes from season 1, but as things go forward, and like I mentioned in the introduction, I will find my feet again, and I'm sure the episodes will begin to lengthen. Remember to let me know what you think about this episode, but also the podcast as a whole. I can only develop it with listener feedback and what you guys want to hear. But if you are liking the podcast, if you could drop us a like or review on the podcast listening platforms of choice, I would really appreciate it. It does help so much. And the same would also apply for YouTube, although don't feel pressured to follow, but it does help a lot and it would encourage me to do a little bit more extra content. Episode number 2 will be coming at you next Friday. That's Friday the 14th. And my guest will be the PoleFit Ultra Runner, otherwise known as Mike Houston. Not to give too much away for the episode, but I really enjoyed speaking to Mike. He's really, really inspirational. I could have listened to him for hours, and I did have the privilege of meeting him at a concert, but more about that next week. So until then, take care, enjoy your runs, and you'll hear from me soon.